Afternoon all. Thank you all for voting. 254 of you voted on that first move, and you seem to have voted the Sicilian defence as the biggest part of the pie chart. 40% of you, 101 votes for C5. Please note facebook.com/Sicilian defence is a wall which I'm posting to quite regularly, a lot of videos and a lot of Sicilian defence related resources. If you're interested in Sicilian defence. So what was the next biggest? There's a 10% there and there's 11% there. So what had 11% in green? It was this one, E5, classical response, E5. So you chose a more dynamic option than E5. With 8% we had the French defence, trying to simulate me, that would be my pet move. There was a 10% here in blue, Caracan, C6. Okay, so Sicilian defence, I'll set up the position and take you through why I think I'm going to play knight f3, but I'm going to take you through that in the next part of this video. Thank you for voting. You'll find in the description of this video the next poll link to use at Tweet Poll. So head off for Tweet Poll with the description I'll put in the video link. Once my my friend on YouTube sets up the poll for your next move with the legal moves. Okay. Thanks very much. Okay, so Sicilian defence is what you've played C5. So with C5, you've already created the concept, believe it or not, I believe, of potentially losing trump cards, because if I undermine your pawn chain now with knight f3, d4, I'm going to accept you'll have c-file pressure, potential outpost on c4 later in many variations because of that c-file pressure. But I'll get d-file pressure, and with like knight f3 and d4 later, it will mean also maybe, you know, f4. Maybe I'm going to castle queenside as well, making use of d2 for my queen. Because once I move that d pawn, you know, I've got things like bishop e3 and queen d2. So the scene is set for a fighting game with Sicilian, and it's pleasing that, you know, people like Gelfand, who have qualified to play Anand, have used the Sicilian defence with great effect. And, you know, I'm pleased with your choice, guys. It's not boring, and I don't want to play boring. And this is going to be fun. At this point, we're all in book. I'm not going to check with engines because engines will just use human books. You know, they're not that good to look like millions moves ahead. But even when I do use engines, I'm going to be exploring positional sacrifices, strategic crush opportunities, by forcing the engines to try out things which it would normally reject. So I'm hoping to add value to make it a proper kind of advanced chess game. Advanced chess is a specific term where you're trying to use the strengths of humans and the strengths of engines, and you're trying to bring them together. So I'm hoping not to be a postman. A postman is an ICCF term who basically just leaves the thing on in an engine for hours and hours, maybe overnight, or multiple engines, and just uses the result, just posts a result. They're in effect a relayer. And I'm not really a relayer. I like to do my own thing. And so please don't expect just, you know, top engine moves from me. But in this opening, there's a lot of freedom of choice here. Okay, I'm going to go through the beaten path, I think, because it's a big drop, isn't it? 1 in 10 for knight c3, and I wouldn't have thought knight c3 was the second most popular move. But I think it's to do, as I mentioned before, about inviting naughty transpositions to try and tangle black up. Let's see e6. What was so strange about e6? Would white, again, the most popular move here is knight f3. It's not g3. So the idea is to play knight f3. When you play knight c3 and it's the most popular, it's knight f3, not g3, which is the usual intention for games. Like here, d6, knight f3. Black might have regretted playing d6. You know, maybe if so, it's trying to sort of tangle black up with a move transposition issue to play knight c3. But I'm not going to bother with that with you, especially as I'm telling you all this. I'm going to just play knight f3. So the thing about knight f3, why on earth is it so popular, and what would be your most popular move according to ChessGames.com? I guess you might vote d6. This is a favourite of Kasparov and Fischer. and inspired many other players to play d6. This knight c6 invites my old favourite, the Sicilian Sveshnikov, but there's the evil line bishop b5, which adds boredom. It's an anti-Sveshnikov line. Rosalimo, who Jessica Fisher Queen has done a video, created this system, the Rosalimo kind of attack, bishop b5. But so that's something to be wary of if you did play knight c6. But I'm not really sure I'd play bishop b5. I think I'd play d4. I'm not bluffing you, honest. If you played knight c6, I'd probably play d4 and go into the Sicilian Sveshnikov. The problem with that, there'd be tons of opening theory, so we'd have to. It would be a battle of opening theory, I think, for a long time. But I guess it's going to be with d6. So you're probably going to play d6. The third most popular, just shortly after knight c6, is apparently e6. So e6, and then what happens? This kind of can go into what territory does it go into? What does chessgames.com say? Here the most popular move is a6. Let's see that recent Fischer game if it's mentioned. Knight c6, say g3, and I think a6 might be important soon. Like here, it becomes important anyway. But yeah, for me, I think, given you play the Sicilian, I don't want to bore you with c3. So I hope you like this video as a result. Then I'm not gonna play c3. My next move against you guys, and I probably don't need to show you on the chess base thing where I can show you here. My next move to be submitted to you guys is knight f3. I'm not going to deviate from the most popular move because I believe we're going to go for potentially losing trump cards for both sides, and that's something I really like. I'm going to give you potentially winning c-file, potentially winning outpost on c4 or sacrifices on c3 if it was a dragon, Sicilian dragon. I'm hoping, maybe we can castle opposite sides. That would be fun, wouldn't it? Okay. So vote on. Check soon. Later today, there'll be a link in the description for your voting options at tweet poll. So my move is knight f3. Thanks very much.